If I had to write a letter to myself from 9 months ago, I would remind myself just to relax and have fun with the year, not to stress myself out too much and just enjoy the moments, the little things, knowing that everything's going to be kind of the last time you've had it. But also remind myself to not be an idiot and win the pre-camp long run, because that's probably what killed my year. So, natural things.
And a letter to myself, I think I would mostly say that you're going to learn a lot this year about yourself and about your teammates. Just not everything works out as planned, but you're still going to learn a lot. You're still going to have a lot of fun. And just keeping your head down and grinding is what matters, so.
I would really want to tell myself to savor every single second of it. And it's funny because I think he would say, yeah, no shit. Because I definitely went into senior year thinking, this is it. And you have to savor every single second. And no matter how hard you try to slow it down, it still just goes way too fast.
What I'll remember, probably the longest in terms of memories, track related or running related, and that would probably be just this last conference, making the move on MacGyver and kind of finishing up that last lap, and just having the entire backstretch of the track just roaring. I mean, some probably was for MacGyver, but I like to think that most of it was for me. That was just awesome to have so much support from you guys, and that will really stick with me forever.
I think I'm gonna remember the winter runs where you go out on Jefferson Hill, go out on Jeff, and you're running up that hill, and with the snow on the fields and the gray winter skies, there's just no horizon, and you look around and there's nothing but whiteness and possibly snow flurries smacking you in the face, and all you can see are the boys who are out there dogging after it with you. I don't know, that's really been experiences on runs where it's less than ideal conditions and you can look to your right and to your left and that there's people there with you, because that wasn't always there and it won't always be there, to have people as dedicated to consistency and to the sport and the lifestyle.
The Winds of Fate at Carleton really stands out on my mind as a time, this is sophomore year too, a time that Birdo, Alec, and I fell asleep in the basement of Willis Hall on the hard concrete underneath the stairs. And we're woken up at like 5 a.m. by a janitor and kind of flushed out of there. And then next morning, standing there, cheering our teammates on, it was hard not to relate the pain that we felt that morning, hungover and sleep deprived and covered in little aches and bruises, to the effort that our teammates were putting in over the course of the race out there. I mean, obviously the two are very different things, but some relation there. Everyone works a little bit for Winds of Fate and at nationals and regionals, and there's a little bit of effort, some solidarity, I suppose, and pain.
Some of the memories I'll miss the most, probably just with regards to the team, are a lot of kind of the really tough workouts. I remember there was that workout that a bunch of us did where it was probably about 45 degrees, pouring rain, out on the Northwest roads, so it was super muddy. The whole trail was completely pockmarked. Being able to be there with all my teammates, and not only being there with the top 10 or whatever, having that memory of just seeing everybody with covered in dirt and mud, a bunch of guys that slipped and fallen over. I remember Mike Finn slipped going around the corner, but just everybody had smiles on their faces, whether or not they had good workouts, because it was fun to be out there in all the crap with your teammates who were going to do it with you.
But a specific memory is definitely from Fall ABR this year, running through a whiteout blizzard every single bar in town. Maybe one of the stupidest things you could do on a day like that, going on Winds of Fate trips. Watching Liam climb over the roof of a car at Central College freshman year, just doing dumb shit on those trips. I don't think there's anything better than that. Just being around the guys.
Driving to St. Louis with Bill pretty much on a whim to go watch Keith run at Nationals when he was our only guy that year. My junior year was also something I'll never ever forget. We it was 16 hours of driving easily within 24 hours getting down there. And we were just like, fuck it, let's just hop in my old pickup truck, make it our business to get there. Winds of fate with the boys, which we did. And yeah, I think that really speaks just to the strength of the bonds and how people can just decide to do things like that.
What am I gonna miss? I think I'm gonna miss the team table and just how I was having someone to eat a meal with. I think that's something that's kind of special, because if you look around the calf, there's a lot of people on their phones, there's a lot of people reading, and there's a lot of people listening to music, trying to isolate themselves, and there's something about using a social situation and using meals as a social situation to really interact with each other.
Now, what I really miss, it's not as much the parties or maybe certain traditions, but what I really miss is just being able to come back to the octet, to a septet, to the house, going over to the pod, going to practice, and just having that group there.
Walking into the pod or the octet or wherever, and other people doing this as well, and just yelling yo or saying honey I'm home, and just people's heads start popping out of the rooms, and just that there's always someone around, and it's just a really good sense of camaraderie that I don't know if I'll ever have again, but hopefully you can maintain it through the years with the guys, but it's not guaranteed.
Having that all around, knowing that you're coming back to a loving community, because the big highlights and stuff, I mean, those stand out in memory, of course, but just having people around, people that you know love and care about you at all the times, that's such a friend group to come back to, I'm gonna miss.
Something I'm gonna miss is just constantly being surrounded by people who love you and care for you. So this is like the calf. Pretty much from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed, you're surrounded by guys who you have a real close relationship with. So that's going to be tough to transition away from, but I'm thankful for the time I've had.
I'm also going to miss Prairie Loop. Prairie Loop might be one of the most beautiful places on earth, and I probably will have to come back just to run around there in circles again. And for the number of laps I've done on Prairie Loop, I don't know. It's just going to be a special place for me.
I'll miss for sure just being able to sit on the mats after practice and just being around like 20, 30, 40 guys that are also there. And it's kind of like the time after when everyone's done doing core or pretending to do core, and you're just sitting there with all these people that you know around you. And even if you have stuff to do, people like to at least take a few minutes just to sit there, not do really anything, just kind of chat, just exist with each other. And I think that'll definitely be something that kind of slips away after you graduate. You don't have so many people that all have the exact same block of time that are cut out all together, and I think that'll definitely be something that would really miss.
I'd tell myself that the sport doesn't owe you anything, the sport of track and field and cross country, and that the important thing is that you keep your long-term goals in mind and you make sure what you're doing every single day is the very best thing you can do to achieve those goals. I always had kind of this sense that there's some sort of fate, that if you go through a shitty time, if you go through crap or something, which I certainly did my junior year, that there's some kind of ethereal force that is somehow going to make everything all right in the end. And that's just not really the case. There isn't really any force outside that's going to make sure that that for every bad there is a good and for every good there's a bad. That doesn't really happen. It's just about how hard you're willing to work and how smart you're willing to work and how focused you are on your goals.
I would say to commit entirely to the team if you want positive results. If you're half committed to training, to traditions, to your lifestyle, if you're living unhealthily, you're not doing all of the training up to your best ability, the mileage, the workouts, all that, and you're not really invested in the tradition or the team, you're not going to get too much out at all, and you're not going to be too happy with the results that you do get. You can kind of stand around on the edge for a little bit, I suppose, and perform all right and kind of involve yourself haphazardly on the team, but you're gonna look back and you're gonna kind of regret your time that you didn't take to just envelop yourself entirely in the 40-some people that make up the Big O.
And just enjoy the friends and really remember why you love the sport itself, and remember a time where you weren't good and you weren't being successful, but you still did it, and there was a reason for like surviving through that time, and kind of surpassing the stage of running that most people don't get past.
Otherwise, I'm really excited to see what all you guys can do next year in cross country and track and all your traditions and everything. It seems like there's another great group of freshmen coming in.
Whether you're doing a tradition or you're thinking about how to handle gear and what traditions that you want to build up each year for the freshmen, and just think about how the younger generations are taking and perceiving these traditions, and just think about how they're going to preserve them. Think about what future generations of the Big O are going to be like as a result of our actions. And I feel so thankful that I don't even have to say this. Just every year, just seeing that the Big O is in such good hands, and that it's going to continue to be just such a benevolent force in everybody's lives.
But I'm always available for anything. Please reach out. Love you guys. You guys are going to do great next year. I can't wait to see everything, and I'll try and be at as many meets as possible. But yeah, love you. Thanks for the last 4 years.